Hey, what's up? Kirk of Effectatron here, and the new 2024 update is out. And if you watch my channels and like my videos and stuff, you probably know I'm a pretty happy, optimistic guy, and I'm always looking forward to new technology and new stuff, and I try to stay on the cutting edge. And I have to say that with this release, I am a little underwhelmed. There's not a lot of really cool updates that I'm excited to play with and stuff. Like, you know, with 2023, I brought in Pyro. This makes Pyro more usable with this update, but still, I think if you're really going to make a lot of fire stuff, you're probably going to want a third-party software that's still just going to be made specifically for that. But I will say Pyro is getting pretty cool and does work better now. So let's talk about, you know, as a generalist and someone who's just going to kind of what's going to make it into your everyday workflow, let's talk about the best new features inside of C4D and Redshift now. And basically the best feature for me is the fact that it's, you know, Redshift is the default feature, which saying that, like, I'm all for, because I'm a big Redshift advocate, and I think I teach a lot of Redshift content, but I also think it's kind of a dick move to make the default renderer something that people have to pay extra for. I'm not a big fan of that. That seems like a kind of a weird thing. Like, I get it, but at the same time, that's kind of just seems rude. Like, if you want to use their software, you also need to buy this. But maybe they'll just bundle it together at some point rather than making it cost extra and you won't be able to buy it without Redshift. I get that you can use the CPU version, but I don't know. It's useless. Anyway, let's talk about the crazy new feature that you guys is going to blow your mind. Check it out. We're going to use this all the time. It is called Subdivide, right? Subdivision surface. We're going to hold Alt and click that, and there you go. Holy cow. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. No, for real. I know I'm being a little salty, but it is a good update. Basically, what's happening with Subdivide, what's new with that, if you don't know, is basically that it works faster now, and you can subdivide further before breaking your viewport. It is nice. It's neat. I can see the potential where you can actually bring in like ZBrush models and stuff like that are high poly, and they'll actually like run smooth in your scene. And that's kind of the big thing. It's like, oh, you can subdivide a little bit further now. Cool. That is nice. I'm not going to say it's like comparable to nanite technology or something like that. It's not, but it is good. And I'll show you one really cool use for it. And that's basically like, if you wanted to do something that had a lot of small details with displacement, you really needed to use the Redshift object tag and the material and the displacement there to get that extra subdivision. Well, now you can actually go one step further inside your viewport, and then on top of that, add that Redshift. So, you know, it was always kind of confusing. If you wanted to do like a greeble or something, you had to just use the Redshift texture, and then you could only see it in the IPR, and you couldn't see it in your viewport. Well, now, let's go ahead and just crank this up to like 4, right? Which is very high res, super, super, super high res. But you can still see, you know, I can rotate around. So the sphere originally was 64. Let's go ahead and double it. Let's get crazy. So 128. And then on top of that, we're subdividing that 4 times. So we're getting very, very small. So very cool. So let's go ahead and hit C, make that editable. And you can see our viewport is still going very fast, which is great and way better than 2023. And here's the cool thing. We can now come in here, hold Shift, and go to Displacer and use that. And so now we can come in here with things like noises and stuff and actually see these really nice detailed noises very quickly. Let's go ahead and change it to something really small. So we can change it to like turbulence, okay? And then scale that even down smaller. And you can see we'll get like really, really fine details very quickly. Change this to like 5. And so now we can make like waves and stuff with a lot of detail and actually see it in our scene very, very quickly, which is nice because we can also come in here, go to the shading tab, go inside our noise and animate that. So animate loop period of 1, and let's go ahead and hit play, and we can actually see it, you know, it's chugging a little bit, but that is because it's subdivided 4 times after already being 128. But we have this nice like visual feedback of what our displacement is actually going to look like. So we can actually finally make oceans and things like that inside the viewport and see them without having to guess with the Redshift render view where things are. But another cool thing is, let's go ahead and say we want to add like a greeble in here. So let's go ahead and load an image, and we have a greeble map here. That's a pretty detailed one, honestly. And I made this with the JS placement app that, you know, may not exist now. It has different plugins. But basically, you can see we actually are able to have greebles on an object in our scene. And it does render fast, and it looks fast, and we can move around it fast. So we can actually finally work with things that have high quality, like greebles and details. Now, we're still going to get some issues here with, like, you know, the edges and things like that. You'll see we have this kind of jagged line, which is going to happen just because we don't have enough. But the cool thing is we can come in here, and let's take this out of this. And we go ahead and right-click that. Let's undo this. Right-click that, add the render tags, redshift object tag, go to the geometry, override that, and then turn on the tessellation. And we can turn this down to like 2. And now when we hit play on this, we should get a much cleaner image. Let's let it think here a little bit. We'll have to calculate that out. You know, they talk about speed a lot with the new update. And I think it is a little faster. It is. I mean, the subdivide obviously is faster. But let's take a look here at what our corners and things look like now that we're kind of like those sharp angles. Let's zoom in. But at the same time, it also doesn't feel that much faster. Now, I know if I want this to respond in real time, what I need to do is click these snowflakes here. So let me do that real quick. Let it bake in so we can actually move around in the IPR view using that redshift tessellation on top of our render. Let it think, and then there. Now we're good to go. So now we can come in here and actually move around faster. And we can look at our angles now. These diagonal lines are much, much smoother. So, you know, you're actually able to see this, and you can't see those little jagged lines near as much as you could before. Obviously, some of these spots that were real sharp look much better in the render time view versus the actual geometry. So using that tessellation from Redshift is very helpful. But it is really cool that we can come in here and actually design greebles and stuff and see it in our viewport finally without lagging out our scene. I think that's the best feature of the new update. I honestly do. There's other things. I think Pyro, we'll talk about that real quick. We'll create a new scene. I've had issues with the new Pyro. I played around with it for a little bit. But, also the fact that they've added bullet tags. They've added a rigid body into the simulation tag, which I think is huge. That is super good. That's fantastic. And we could do a whole lesson on that, honestly, because I think that one is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and go right-click on our sphere, type in Pyro output, and basically they've changed some things around. We'll turn this on. And inside the Pyro scene, we still have to click Pyro scene, then twirl that down, and then click over to Pyro to actually get to our Pyro settings, which I think is annoying. Hopefully they update that. But they've taken away the smoothing section that was there, and they've implemented that into each category. So if you want to smooth out the density, it's now within the density. So they've kind of separated things out by the attribute versus the effect. That's kind of how it was before. So we'd go ahead and we have dissipation is all within each character itself rather than a whole collective group about dissipation and that kind of thing. So this is all fine. Let's just go ahead and hit play on this. We should get pretty fast feedback. Yeah, looks pretty good. Best thing they've added is the ability to do an initial state. Basically what that means is I say, okay, I want my scene to start right here where it actually looks like this rather than having to wait for it to get to frame 60 to have this fire, because I just want to start my shot with my fire there. So basically you go into the Pyro scene and you click set initial state. And now when you go back to frame 0, it's not going to be there. But when you hit play, it does start right there at frame 60. And it creates this folder that's here now to be there. Don't touch it. Right? So here we go. So that's cool. Neat. We still need to create a material Pyro volume, which I feel like when you create the Pyro output, it should just automatically do that and create that. Don't make me come in here. Still an issue with the fact that our viewport looks like this, where our render view, let's see what that looks like, doesn't look the same, right? It's close, but these aren't the same. Like, I don't know why they have it be so different, but always know that you're going to need to tweak your Pyro volume here. And what we need to do is come in here, and we're probably going to up the scatter coefficient to like 3 and the absorption to like 5. And now we have a little closer look to what we actually see here. So if that's what you're banking for, that's kind of how you get to that. All right. So the other cool thing is they've added the ability to up-res your scene. So let's go ahead and turn this down to frame 24, back it up, we hit play. Boom, we have our nice playback. We can kind of see it live. Not really though, but That's neat, right? So we can come in here, we can cache this, or we can up-res the scene. Now, what's happened the last few times I have tried to do this is when I have an initial state selected, when I up-res the scene, it crashes. And I'm sure that's a bug. So what I'm going to do is delete my initial state. I'm going to say clear, back it up to frame 0, hit play, let it start fresh. And so with a voxel size of 2 or 5, we can come in here and add some more fluid factor and another substep. And we can take a look at this. And let's go ahead and render this out. Oh God, we go back to 72 frames. Sit here and wait for it to go. All right. And we'll render that out real quick, just so we have a reference image that we can compare it to later. So we'll go ahead and uncheck those and click take snapshot. Boom. All right, cool. That's good enough. Now, what we want to do is come in here to our pyro output. Let me mute my phone. And let's go ahead and go to the pyro scenes cache, and we're going to say up-res our scene, and we're going to up-res it 3 times. It's like my daughter does that. She's 2.5. All right, let's go ahead and just make a new folder. Pyro. Okay, select, go. And it's going to cache that and update that, and it goes pretty quickly. We'll pause it and let that go. Okay, that took a minute or so. We're going to hit play, and now you see we do have a much higher res fog. Very cool. All right, so let's open up our render view again. It's open already down here at the bottom. I always forget that it doesn't actually close. All right, so this was what frame, oh, that says frame 0, but that's definitely not what it was. Anyway, let's just see what the new one looks like in comparison. And it's definitely better. Yeah, for sure. So it is nice that you can basically, look dev it, get it looking pretty good, and then up-res it for like when you're actually done with it. Don't try to up-res it and then tweak it more. I think up-resing it needs to be the very last step. But it does look nice, and I would like to see what it can do to, I wonder if you can do it on VDBs and stuff. I feel like they probably have not added that feature. Up-res anything? No. Okay, so that'd be nice. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it, to be quite fair. Obviously, there's a new vamp system. There's a simulation scene system that has some new settings. Basically, its pyros controls and stuff have changed. It's inside of there. But character manager, the vamp system, I don't ever use. The move tool, the loop select, the pattern select tool is cool, and the magnet tool is cool. But that's pretty much the best new stuff that you're probably going to use on a daily basis. We also can export out different FBXs and GLTFs, I guess. They have new settings, as well as USDs. So, which I assume means now you can take things into Unreal Engine better, which is what they're talking about. So that's cool. All right, but I would say that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think about the update in the comments below and what you want to see more of. I do think the pattern select tool is going to be good. Pyro, I think, has potential, and obviously you can add it into matrices now, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and delete this cache and real quick go into that. Yes, delete the files on disk. Let's go ahead and create a matrix object, and we'll set it to like a radial one, and we'll just kind of, put a vibrate tag on it or something like that. And we can also come in here and tweak it with an effector and do like a random effector on there, and crank them up a little wild, turn them up to like, I don't know, how many do we want? Whoop, like that, right? So that's kind of what we got. And what if we take that and we keyframe that at frame 0, go to frame 72, and then rotate that around just a bunch of times. Like a bunch, yeah, more, good. And keyframe that, go into the window, go in here at F curve, and make it linear. So now we have this spiral. That may be too fast. Let's just grab that. let's type in 240, and we'll just grab that and move it down so it's slower overall. 72. So now we have this. Cool. Right click, simulate, pyro, play. Boom. Now we can make, a little vortex, which is pretty cool. I do think that's neat. I do like that. Nice. As far as new assets, I didn't see any new ones really that came in with this update. In case you didn't know, there's a lot of cool Redshift plants and stuff that have come in, as well as some new car paints and stuff. There is a lot of stuff locked behind the Maxon 1 paywall. Again, not the biggest fan of having to pay extra for something that I already have, which is Maxon and Redshift that I pay for. So, but yeah, pretty cool that you can come in here and do that and create some nice little pyro particle effects quick and easy with that. So that's pretty much it. Let me know what do you want to see more. I should probably do one on the new dynamics tag because it's fun. But yeah, thanks for watching. Just wait. Basically, if you're not using Pyro or doing a lot of stuff with Subdivide and you use a lot of plugins, wait for those plugins to be updated before updating to 2024 because you're not missing a whole lot. All right, see ya.